Alright, welcome back to the video series on creating the space shooter in Arcade. In this video, I think we're going to get our player to die, unfortunately. So if he gets hit by an enemy laser, explodes, or not yet explodes, but he resets essentially to where he was, and loses a life, possibly. We may also have time to get a score working. So let's go ahead and get started. Recall in our last video we got our game recognizing if our enemy got hit. I think we should be able to do the same idea, except when we check for collision we'd want to check with, instead of player lasers, it'd be with all of the enemy's lasers. So we have this code right here that's already going through each of our enemies. So I think what we want to do is we want to check if any of the enemy's lasers have hit our player. So we're going to I'm going to make a player hit equals check for collision with list, but this time it's going to be self.player with this enemy's lasers. And so we'll say if len of player hit is greater than 0, then that means the player was hit, right? So we'll say self.player.hit. So I'm going to go up to my self.player, or my player class, and I'm going to add in a method here, call it hit. And when we get hit, for right now, I'm just going to have it print hit. All right, so let's see here. Oh, got hit. Oh, we got hit. Oh, we got hit. Okay, so we can definitely see we're getting hit. So what should happen when we get hit? Well, I think we should probably lose a life. All right, there might be a sound of some sort, maybe an explosion, something like that. So we're going to go ahead, I'm going to start by saying self.lives equals, let's give I got 5 lives to begin with, I suppose. And so, of course, the first one would be just self.lives minus equals 1. And let's go ahead and let's print self.lives. Let's just see what that looks like. Okay. Oh. Okay, so I got hit once and my lives were already way negative. So that's not going to work. All right, so we've got to make sure that when we get hit, we only get hit once by a laser. Okay. So what we need to do is inside of down here when we say self.player.hit, we also want to make sure that we remove any of those lasers from their lists. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to say for laser in player hit laser dot remove from sprite lists. Okay. And that should safely remove it. Let's see if that works. There we go. Of course, we're still getting hit multiple times quickly. I think that's because we have our enemies shooting a little bit too fast. So we're saying that our enemies can shoot 3 times. I think maybe we only want our enemy to shoot once. So if there's less than 1, then they can shoot. And I think that's more manageable. All right, so, okay. Oh. Now again, when I get shot, my ship should reset to the center or something, right? So we want it to get destroyed. Maybe it's not lives. So maybe instead of lives, it's shields. So how can we represent shields? Well, if you look in the starter code, there is a shields image. And so what we can do is we can say go ahead and do a self.shield level equals 3. Right, that's the default shield level instead of lives. Right, and so then what we'll do is we'll say self.shield image equals arcade.load texture. And that's going to be under images / shield 1.jpg. Make sure I'm not making this up. Files, shield 1. Okay, there's actually 3 separate images there. We might use more than one, we'll see. Okay, so that's the shield image. So now when we draw, right, we want to draw ourselves, but we also want to draw this shield image. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to say arcade.draw LRWH rectangle textured. Okay. Now remember, it wants a bottom left and then a width and a height for the image, right? So the bottom left corner we're going to say is self dot, and there is I believe there's a left. Right? Self dot bottom. Right? Those are both values. Now the width and the height will be self.width and self.height. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw that and see what happens. No, PNG. PNG, not JPG. PNG. Oh yeah, we need the texture. So it'll be self.shield image. Self.shield image. Okay, so we can see there's a small circle around it, right? So really what I want though is I want this to be like larger, and as we get hit, it's going to shrink down. Okay? So as we get hit, it's going to shrink. So what we're going to do is we're going to say left minus what self.shield level times, because right now it's 3, right? So I'm going to say times 10. And then same with the bottom. Self.shield level times 10. Okay. And then for the width and the height, I'm going to make that, well, let's see, if we're doing the left minus shield level times 10, I'm going to make this self.shield level times 20, so twice that. Self dot self.width plus, and then self.height plus self.shield level times 20. Cool. All right. So now though, instead of lives when we get hit, we want to shield level -1. Okay. So let's see what happens. I'm going to try to get hit now so I can. Oh, there, it shrunk. There it shrunk. Shrunk. So now it's almost non-existent. So now we actually take damage. So there we go. Okay. So when we get hit, right, if our shield level is less than 0 and we got hit again, right? So if our shield level is less than 0 and we got hit, then that's when we're going to do a game over. I'm just going to print game over for right now, but so let's see what happens here. So I run this, got my shield, I'm able to shoot. All right, oh, that shrunk down. Shooting, oh, it shrunk, oh, shrunk down, game over. Okay, I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. All right, so we're drawing this texture on top of it. Instead of doing lives, we're doing shield level. We have it doing game over. Of course, it's not really game over yet. So in order to handle the game over, we're going to have to do like a self.alive equals true. Okay, and so then right here we'll do self.alive equals false. We ran out of shields. So what I'm going to have it do now is inside of my game, I'm going to have a init self.gameover equals false. Actually, I'm going to put that inside of setup. It's the very first thing inside of setup. So on update, after everything is said and done, at the very end, I'm going to say if self.player.alive. So if not self.player.alive, then self.gameover equals true. Okay. So if the player is no longer alive, the game over is true. And so we only want update to actually do stuff if not self.gameover. Okay, so I'm going to type that. I'm going to grab all of this code inside of update, including that last bit, tab it over. So now we run it. 1, 2, 3, game over. Okay. So how do we do a game over screen? Well, inside of onDraw right here, we have it doing some stuff. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if not self.gameover, then draw like normal. Otherwise, right, so that means it is game over, we want to give the player the option to play again. So instead of drawing the player and the enemies, right, so I'm going to go ahead and have it keep on drawing the background no matter what. I'm going to have it draw the background no matter what. All right, so, but instead of drawing the player and enemies, I'm going to have it draw some text. So I'm going to say arcade.drawText, press R to restart. All right, now we have to tell it where to draw that, so I'm going to have that be screen width divided by 2, screen height divided by 2. I'm going to say anchor X equals center. That way it's centered on the screen. And then same with anchor Y equals center. Let's see here. I want the font to be a little bit larger, so I'm going to say 40. We also have to give it a color. So arcade.color. I don't know, red. 40. And the order here does matter. I know I kind of typed it in a weird order, but so we have the text first, we have the coordinate, we have the color, we have the font size, and then this anchor X, anchor Y. Okay, I'm going to go and run this. There we go. Press R to restart. Okay, and so of course when I press R, nothing happens. Right? And so what I'm going to do is in my on key press, I'm going to say, well, if self.gameOver. So if the game is over, then if key is equal to arcade.key.r, then self.setup. And that's going to restart my game. So let's see what happens here. Press R to restart. I press R and we restart. Cool. Okay. And the last thing I want to get working in this video and in this game really for now is I want to get a score. Okay. So inside of my game class, I'm going to go ahead and make a variable score. So self.score, I'm going to set it to 0. And inside of my onDraw, I'm going to have it draw the score. So I'm going to say arcade.draw text fstring score self.score. Let's see. I'm going to have this score be, I mean, I don't know, in the bottom right. So I guess it'll be screen width, maybe minus 100. Let's make it 0. Arcade.color.red. Font size of 24 maybe. See what this looks like. Okay, a little bit too big maybe. All right, that's going to be kind of maybe a little bit too big. So I'm going to make that 18. Try that again. That's looking pretty good. Maybe make this minus 120, a little bit further to the left. There we go. That ought to do it. Okay, but now I need to change score. Well, how do I know I changed score? Well, that would be when I actually hit an enemy. All right, so right here, right, for enemy and to remove, I need to give my score 1. So I'll say self.score plus equals 1. So now let's see how bad I am at this game. There's the scope. I shot 2 somehow. Is it hitting 2 of them? Oh, it is. Okay, so I actually want my laser to get removed when I hit 2. Okay, so my laser should only be able to hit 1 guy. And so in the same way that we did what was it? Remove from sprite list right here. We're going to go ahead and do that right here as well. So we'll say if len of hit list is greater than 0 to remove a pinned enemy, and then we'll go ahead and say for laser in hit list, laser dot remove from sprite lists. And that should make it so that my lasers only hit 1 guy, and then they should, yeah, there we go. Cool. So now we have a score. Oh. Cool. So yeah, that's actually a decently working game. There's still some things to add, like sound and things like that. But that's going to do it for right now. Hope you found that informative. Hope it kind of gave you some ideas of how you might go about working on your game, especially if you weren't really liking the idea of a platformer. Of course, there's a lot of different options out there. There's a whole lot of things you can do. I'm just trying to give you some ideas. So hope you enjoyed this, and yeah, we'll talk later.